Well, a very good morning to you, the viewer of West Nile TV. You're most welcome to the KOKOLIRIKO live edition that is for the Wednesday in here. And we're back to also let you know of so many issues that continue to happen in the country. And when we talk about the stories in the country leading right now, it is all about the riots that was intended to go on yesterday. But we were able to see security also really calming down the situation. And that's one thing also we did see yesterday across the entire country. And all roads leading to Parliament also did witness that is heavy deployment of security agencies of both the UPDF and Uganda Police. And what does this mean? It means that protesters were not allowed. And we did see also dozens being arrested. I don't know what that means. Is it an infringement on their rights? That is to also have this peaceful protests. Definitely that is something we did see going on yesterday. But nonetheless, you're most welcome from wherever you're watching us from. I want to take this opportunity now in a special way to welcome you aboard. That is for the discussions. We are just 8 minutes after 7 o'clock, and today happens to be the 24th of the month of July. That means we are just left with about 6 days to wind up with the month. But then the question also you should be asking yourself is, how is the month moving? How so far? Is it so far so good? If all else things are not moving rightly, if at all things are not moving rightly to your wishes, all I want to say is that never give up. Still continue pursuing your dreams. At the end of the day, I want to inform you that also still your time will come up. And if at all things are moving on your way, still go back to the prayer mat and also still thank God, because all these benefits solely come from Him, because it is also from Him that also all these blessings come, that is also from, and that is one thing also I want to take this opportunity now in a special way to welcome you aboard. You could be watching us in parts of Ajumani, Moyo, Yumbe, Obongi, Maracha, Terego, and other parts also within West Nile sub-region. I want to take this opportunity to welcome you. For those of you watching us in the other parts, in Aluru land, I still also want to welcome you aboard in a special way. What about my other people from Arua district and Arua city? I also want to take this opportunity in a special way to welcome you aboard for the discussions, and that is where we are going to be doing this with you up to the hour of 9 o'clock. And I want to take this opportunity, not forgetting those who are watching us via StarTimes dish, that is on channel 477, and then also really those who are watching us online. It is a great pleasure having you on board, knowing that you are watching us, and we do not take it lightly and for granted. And this is where we are going to be doing the discussions with you up to the hour of 9 o'clock in there. And after 9 o'clock, that's when the news bulletin in Lubarati will be coming through. That's with Fete Emmanuel, that will be taking you through up to around 9:30. Then later on, we shall be having what we call the Northern Request Hour with Olivia, together with DJ Jero, who will be here to take you through up to about midday. And then we shall be having the Lembangia news bulletin also for the Lulu speaking community, that will be going, that is from 12 up to around 1. And then we shall be having MC Sajos already coming through with the street talk. And then later on other programs will be following. And talking about the program that will be following after lunch, we do have Whistle Time that will be coming through from 2 to 3 p.m. That is with Owen Ezaga together with Linda Suzy. And then the movie time there immediately follows, and then that will usher us into Chukuchuku from 5, that is to 7 p.m. And then the Nalcast also really will be coming through, that is from 7 to 8. And then the day will be summarized with the Kelele show also that will be coming in later on. And that is how our programming is. And if you really look at these programs, it cuts across, and this is really where we start off your mornings with what we call information also in there. And that is really where, if at all you want to be informed, the KOKOLIRIKO live show is absolutely there to keep you and also let you know that. And then the news bulletin also will be coming through. And then for those who love entertainment, I've mentioned quite a number of programs that are all there to also make sure that also really you pick something in the world of entertainment, but we do not also do it entirely to entertain you. We also want to keep you informed, updated, and also in the know of what's happening. And that is how we are, and we remain committed as West Nile TV to enlightening the region. And briefly, without wasting any of the time, I want to now head into some of the stories that we did see happening yesterday. Heavy deployment witnessed across the streets of Kampala. Definitely, what does this mean? It means that we are able to see members moving also within also some of the areas that we are suspected to be also really prone to also really causing the riots in there. But I must tell you, security was able to also really contain the situation, and nothing also of that caliber did happen, as dozens got arrested as security also really foils anti-corruption march. That's something we did see happening in yesterday, where the Kampala city was on high alert, as also really there was a heavy deployment of security security of both the UPDF and the Uganda police also really ready to arrest whoever was intending to move to parliament in there. And what does this mean? Yesterday I was on a number of also spaces where I did witness mixed reactions, where a number of people also really expressed dismay by the also really the state of also really the kind of security deployment, with many also expressing concern in the parliament. We also did see the same also going in, and many people also raised a number of issues, and the parliament also, I must say, yesterday was a bit hot. And for the very first time after parliament returning after the recess, remember members of parliament have been off after a long period of time, and parliament did return yesterday, and it was a hot one, and the session led by the deputy speaker of parliament, Thomas Ayebwa. Members of parliament, we are also really able to express mixed reactions, and a number of them actually demanded also really answers to the corruption also allegations going on in the country. And notable among those that actually amazed and caught up the eyes of very many people is our own, that's Odria York of Aringa South, who was able to also really pick up the floor of parliament and ask questions about the issue of parliament. And one thing I was able to pick up from him is that why doesn't Ayebwa, whom they elected, also do not, why don't they permit them to come up and also really address the issue of corruption also on the floor of parliament? And remember, these members of parliament, together with colleagues, for instance, of also Wemiaga South, that is Tuyo Sechkuo, have been traversing the country to raise signatures also really of the members of parliament, so that also they can be able to bring the matter that is either to impeach or allow the 4 backbench commissioners also really continue with their works, also really in there. But one of those issues also really came yesterday, that these people were able to demand for accountability, and that is something we did see happening yesterday. And how best are we going to be seeing an end to the corruption we are talking about in the country today? Because many issues have also really been raised in relation to that, and we did see also really many people also really raised a number of concerns also really going in there, and that is where I really want to say we are going to be also really going on. But I must inform you that Dazes got arrested, and in Arua City it was very calm, and I didn't see any protesters also moving. Though I was moving to see, I was not able to see. It means that we are peaceful, and we could go on, because if at all the match was supposed to be taking place today, if at all it failed, definitely maybe also really many people could have also really raised concern in there. Now the anti-corruption march organized by activists and a number of other opposition groups, mainly believed also to be from National Unity Platform, are aiming to also really seek for the resignation of the Speaker of Parliament. That's right, Honorable Anita Mang, whom they also really cited to also really be corrupt in there. And many of the things also we did see on social media, that this also really raised a number of issues, and there also really a lot of issues where they feel the speaker needed to be also really impeached, because they feel she is one of those people who has promoted corruption in this country. But you, as the viewer, what do you think? Do you think it is right? Do you think the impeachment of the speaker together with the 4 backbench commissioners will address another issue, that is of corruption in there? Because when we talk about corruption, many of the times people think it is money, but I want to tell you, corruption can move beyond that. People getting money, for instance, during campaigns is also really a bribe, and a bribe is corruption, and that's why we're saying this corruption must start with us. And what does it mean? This means that as the viewer and as a voter, please stop asking for money from these politicians, because at the end of the day, they will need that. They will need the money to give you, and where are they going to get the money from? It is through such corrupt tendencies, where at the end of the day they will get the money and also give you and share with you, and you become part of the corrupt also linkage in there, because corruption is a chain, and then definitely you also become part of that chain in there. And that's why we're saying we do not also have to be characterized as all corrupt. We must say, if at all an individual is corrupt, we must say we are corrupt. Because when talking about not also really being characterized, one of the members of parliament also really of a route or south, who was also really able to also really pick up the floor of parliament, was able to also really make some of the funny remarks, saying that also really as he was moving, many people also really confronted him, others also really calling him a witch tibwa, which he also really was told that you're a thief, which he really rejected and saying that he's not a thief, he's not corrupt, and that's also something that also did make many people sort of laugh in there. And that the MP also known as Jonathan Oduru was able to do that, and many people sort of laughed after the remark, because he was, I believe, being misinformed in there that the word Owechitibwa, which in other words means a person of respect, but really somebody misinterpreted that for him, and at the end of the day he felt very bad, and that is what we did see yesterday in Parliament, which was highly tense in there. But what does this mean? How can we make sure that we address the issues of corruption in this country? This is where I want to pose the question to you now as the viewer, because I do understand for us to fight corruption, the fight definitely must start with me and you, and at the end of the day, if at all we are to enjoy the benefit of a corruption-free state, definitely all of us are going to be proud, and not only one person being proud in there. And today the head of state, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, has come out to also clearly say that there's corruption in this country, and for a long period of time he has not been having evidence. At least now he is in the know of what is happening in the country, and how can we make sure we support his dream of fighting corruption. And that is only where I want to also seek your opinion as the viewer, because now the members of parliament also have come out to also demand also for the exit of those who are corrupt. And remember recently where we did see also some people also being arrested in some members also of the National Unity Platform, and we did see also that the president of National Unity Platform Party, that is the Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, the principal, also came out yesterday to also say that they are not organizing what we call the riots, but rather they are also in support of it, and they did condemn the kind of acts also we did see happening in there yesterday with the heavy deployment of the security agencies. I don't know what that means, but we are saying we must use the right channels, and also if at all the peaceful, maybe the force fails, why don't we resort to dialogue, as requested also by the Minister of Gender and Labour Social Development in charge of Youth and Children Affairs, that is Honorable Bala Matenyi, who actually asked the youths, because these protests are mainly chaired by the youths, and this also happened where he was able to also ask for those people to also come, that is also for dialogue, and that will be also going on, that is also Kololo ceremonial grounds, where he did ask the youths, more so the ones who are not happy about also the corruption, the state of corruption in this country. He called upon them now to resort to dialogue, where he is ready to meet them, and they actually came out to also say that the president, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, is also really willing to meet also these members of also the public who are not also really happy about the corruption in this country, citing a lot of irregularities and also a lot of issues. And this actually made 7 demands, where if I can be able to also cite for you a very few, at this point demanded for the reduction of the size of the parliament, because they are saying the parliament is too huge. And looking at the parliament today, we have about 500 members of parliament, and they are asking for a reduction of that. And then secondly, reduction of the salaries to 3 million. Will the members of parliament accept? Because if you look at the member of parliament who moves the whole country, who moves the whole constituency looking for votes, the money he or she spends is more than, in most cases, 100 million. How much maybe do you think that this person should earn? Is 3 million really enough? And is that money really realistic? Definitely, I want to say, I do not know, but really that is also something we did see happening yesterday. And I feel, I also need to let you know of, and this book shall demanded for the resignation also of the speaker as well. They made 7 key demands. And that is one thing also we did see yesterday. And while police was making arrests of some of the protesters yesterday, they asked them, what are your demands? What do you want? And what do you think the youth need? Definitely, as the viewer, you have the best answer also to that. And that is one thing also I feel I need to let you know of as we get to move on with the KOKOLIRIKO live show this morning. And I feel so many issues happened yesterday, and many people were able to also really be posted and also ready to know of what was happening in the country. But we were able to see members traveling around Kampala city center, and remember, and also some of the junctions that also led to city center also witnessed what we call heavy deployment. And in some of the areas, police was doing personal checks on border and other passengers, where they had to stop you and also really check in through your bags and what you're carrying. Was it also something dangerous? Did you carry the placards? Because we did see people carrying the placards with their demands in there. And one person that amazed me was able to reach up to parliament. One person, and he was able to be arrested also in there, but he was taken away. And what does this mean? Because they were also arrested, and I do understand that now they have been remanded to Luzira, and this was something that happened yesterday, and today they are spending also the night also in Luzira in there. And what does this mean? Could they be made paraded before court within the 24 hours? Definitely, that is something we are yet following up on. And by law, they are supposed to be also arraigned before courts of law within the 24 hours, if at all. That is already where the laws are to be followed. And that is one thing also we are yet going to be following up today. And the activists also continuously demanded also for the release of their colleagues who got arrested also via social media also campaigns in there. And that is one thing also we did see happening, and we shall be keeping you posted on any development in relation to this matter that we are discussing right now, because that is something we did see happening yesterday, and I feel I also need to let you know of, because many people actually wanted to know what was happening. But I must inform you that no life was lost as per yesterday, but definitely we are going to be following up on this, and that is also the one thing we want to also thank the security agencies for, though we didn't see also really very much also really a lot of things. But the day before yesterday, we were able to see also really a number of our colleague journalists also going through a lot. One of them fell in a trench, and that is also really, I believe, as she was running away from the police and security agencies who were actually trailing them. But we are saying these are matters that shouldn't also really go on. And on your screens is something you can see where protesters are also in there. And these are mainly the youth. And if you look at the youth today in the country, they are the ones who are going through a lot. And look at criminality, it is always attributed to the youth. Look at unemployment, it is mainly the youth who are affected. And I believe they have their rights also really to move to wherever they want to go to. And that's all in parliament. And if you are told they want to move, I believe they are really free to exercise their rights. And one person also really who amazed me yesterday, who actually encouraged the government to listen to the queries of the youth, is Harold Achema, a veteran politician, a veteran also political activist and also analyst also in there. He was able to also really ask the government to also really to listen to the concerns of the youth, and he shouldn't also encourage the government not to take the issues of the youth lightly in there. And that is something we did see happening yesterday, and we are going to be keeping you still posted on that matter in there, because the youths have their goal, have the rights also to be listened to, because if at all government does not give them the listening ear, then that is quite unfortunate. And I believe the issues of fighting corruption is everyone's mandate. And these people, just like the others, have their mandate also to fight corruption in there. And I believe at the end of the day also really, me and you, if at all we are to live in a corruption-free state, definitely we are going to be enjoying the benefits. And the benefits are not going to be limited to one person. I'm not saying also really that we did this. And that is one thing also really I believe is very, very much important. Indian dozens got arrested and they were remanded to Luzira. And that is already something we are going to be also really keeping you informed on. And now the entire Kampala capital city is surrounded with security officials, including police officers, counter-terrorism, military police, and plainclothes personnel on various roads also really across the city center in there. That is something also we did see happening. And I believe this is something also that is quite important in there. And human rights activists, including that is Habib Buembo and Eria, we are also really arrested while attempting to reach that is parliament. And we did see also this campaign also really bringing together different stakeholders. And now Uganda Medical Association also really had also a colleague who was able and willing to also really offer medical assistance to the rioters in there. And this actually demanded also really for the stand of UMA, and in terms of also really where they stand, because they came out to also really ask if at all they are in their support. And that is something we did see yesterday on the various media, also social media, also groups also really where we are able to also really have interactions also really about also really the ongoing also planned protests in there. But what does this mean? And is this the right time for the country also to undergo the same also in there? Because looking at what happened in Kenya, definitely I must tell you we did witness angry and that's only bad scenarios. But really as Uganda, should we also really witness the same? And that's something you as the viewer has the best answer to, if at all you feel also really not happy about what is happening. But what channel should we use as a nation is also really something that also we need to also really understand. In now there was heavy deployment in Kampala also really as protests spread is something that we did see yesterday. And I must inform you that when we talk about the heavy deployment, I must say it was also really expected in their war. And what did the head of state say? President Museveni also warned protesters that they would be also playing with fire, something was, and statement also that did not go on well with some of the protesters, and saying that this is our country and why must the president also really say something of that caliber during his national address also recently, that was on Saturday, also really a remark that did not go on well with some of the also really planned also really people who wanted to also go on with also really that is also the security also against the security measures in there, because this wrote their letter to the government. I believe this is their constitutional mandate, and the government also permits them to do so. But really, how and what channels should they use also to address the same matters in there? And now I want to also look at the information that the anti-corruption protesters have been remanded to prison. That is in Luzira. Is some of the story that we are seeing on the past morning, where Buganda Road Court has remanded over 50 youths solely to Luzira prison following their protests against the government and government also in there. That's in relation to corruption, and the fully packed court presided over by, that is by the trial grade 1 magistrate Ms. Caroline Chosabire. On Tuesday evening, the accused persons also charged with public nuisance, and during her submission, Mr. Chosabire asserted that the accused and others still at large on July 23rd, also 2024 Parliamentary Avenue Central Division, that's in Kampala, made the procession also to Parliament also in the middle of the road while carrying placards and also not aiming to harm anybody, but that's also where this also got them arrested. But what does this mean? And could this also be maybe a point that also we do not have democracy in this country, because these people have their rights and we also respect the Constitution? Definitely, we are saying under the Public Order System Act, we do not also permit such public nuisances, but we are saying also to carry out what we call peaceful demonstrations. It is within the jurisdictions of the law, and the laws permit us to do so, but where we are also really supposed to be working also really hand in hand with the security agencies, because at the end of the day, that is only where we do not want to witness destruction of property, we do not want to witness loss of lives and also loss of property in there, because during riots, there are people who come to loot. They not also come with the right intentions, and that's why maybe this law also came in place, because many of times we have seen riots also really where people have lost property. And recently, I must tell you, we saw what happened in Kenya, where people were able to carry flat screens and other properties, because others also came into just loot. And really, we saw what was in Parliament, where one of those important sticks was carried by one of the protesters. I don't know where he was carrying the stick, but really that is something also we did see happening, where others carried the flags. Others were able to put on the uniform of also the parliament officials in the clerk to parliament. Also, a uniform was also seen being donned by one of the protesters. But what does this mean? It means that also the protests are never good. And now in Uganda, those who were arrested have now been remanded to prison, and these among others include that's Nelvin Nasasire, a 32-year-old from Latin Tungamo, Kule Ronald, a 23-year-old from Loira City, and we do have Kiria, 34, that's from Kasubi, Salim Were, 38-year-old man, veterinary doctor from Kawempe, that's Gift Achila, that's only from Mutungo in there, and 24-year-old Kobusinje Noda, who was already got arrested in there, among others who have now been remanded. That's Luzira government prison, pending also that issue in there. And I believe at the end of the day, that is something also really we are going to be also really analyzing with you up to the hour of 9 o'clock. But for now, we are going to be also really we are going to be also letting you know of that. And earlier on, I did inform you that Parliament sat yesterday, and it was a hot one. And one of our own, Odria York of Aringa South, was able to shake the Parliament with his speech, and many people also really raised a lot of issues. And what exactly did he say? Definitely, we are going to be returning with that in relation to what he said. But for now, let's first run in for this short commercial breather that will be ushering us into that discussion. And remember, so many MPs also attended the session yesterday, and notable among also included the ministers already, and also among many others, so people who also attended the sitting in there, which was followed live on TV. Many people actually sat at the comfort of their homes and ready to witness and hear what their MPs are going to deliberate on, and what their MPs are going to actually say, and what their MPs who represent them are actually going to represent and also really address on the floor of Parliament. Did your MP say anything? We are returning with the discussion later on.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
Miss Uganda 2024 Grand Finale is here! 28 finalists, 1 crown. On Saturday, 3rd of August at 8 p.m. Sheraton Hotel. True Ugandan beauty will be spiced up with glamour and entertainment from the legendary Maddox Sematimba, the popular Abeka Band, and Jackie Chandiru. The show will broadcast live exclusively on Makula Chika on Star Times at 8 p.m. Come, let's celebrate Ugandan beauty. Sponsored by VNA, Alemzed, Comform, Nanjing Hotel, Kira Motors, Sheraton, Uganda Airlines, and lead sponsors Dress Textiles and U Home. Miss Uganda 2024, True Ugandan Beauty.
Peters College War Girls invites parents, political leaders at all levels, civil servants, civil society organizations, the business communities, cultural leaders, OGs of War Girls and OBs of St. Aloysius College Nyapea, schools representatives within Zombo, and all well-wishers for the school's Patron Saints Day on the 20th of July 2024 at the school starting at 10 a.m. with Holy Mass to be presided over by His Grace Raphael Pumonyo Courage, the Archbishop of Gulu Archdiocese. There will be a fundraising to collect funds for the renovation of staff houses and purchase of a grinding mill for the school. The chief guest for the day will be Dr. Joyce Kadushu Moriku, the State Minister for Primary Education. My name is Gramia Vivian, the head girl of St. Peter's College War Girls. I also invite you all.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
Alright, welcome back from the short commercial break. We are back into the second half of the first hour, and we are just at 3 minutes after 7 o'clock, and I want to welcome you aboard from wherever you are watching us. In case you started watching us right from the time we began, I want to say thank you so much and welcome back. And in case you are just joining us right now, we want to say welcome onto the show and welcome aboard, and we are going to be doing this with you up to the hour of 9 o'clock. And earlier on, you found us discussing the issues pertaining the fight against corruption in the country, and many people also have expressed mixed reactions about the same matter. And we did see Parliament going on yesterday, and that's really where we did see the same matter be also really raised also really in the floor of Parliament. And one of the best MPs also really who amazed me is our own, and that is where we did see also the MPs sending tougher messages to the Speaker, and with many demanding also for her resignation. But yesterday the Parliament session was not chaired by her. The session was chaired by her deputy, that is Thomas Tayebwa, and I believe that is already where we did see the people also demanding. And I believe if at all she was in the steering wheel, it would have been worse. And also where we did see the members of Parliament also demanding for the same matter to be also brought on the same floor of Parliament. That's where we did see that happening. And remember, the MPs in the 11th Parliament have also already been termed with a lot of corruption in there. Now they're also really feeling maybe their name has already not being also raised well in there, and that's only where with many are saying they're not corrupt. And we did see also Jonathan Eduru of Root South also really coming out to say, I'm not corrupt. But when I was able to also move in the sample, were welcoming me by telling me of Wechitibwa. And somebody told him that the word Wechitibwa means it is actually that you're a thief, which he did say that he's not a thief, he's not corrupt. But in other words, that was a wrong misinterpretation, and a wrong also interpretation of the word Wechitibwa, which is a Luganda word meaning a person of respect. But that is something we did see happening in there, and many people also raised the same also matter in there. And we did see also Mujiche also really talking about the same matter, also really demanding why the heavy deployment also really to the roads leading to Parliament, and also the many streets also in there. And when we talk about heavy deployment, this wasn't only in Kampala and in Masaka City, we also did see the same, and I will be letting you know that later on. But what did your MPs say in the Parliament? That is one thing also really that somebody also could be interested in wanting to know this early morning in there. And we did see Aringa South MP that is York Odria, also really raising concern and demanding for the Speaker also to bring the matter that is to the floor of Parliament, saying they are the ones that elected the Speaker and also the Deputy together with other officials in there. Now they are demanding also a chance for their matter also to be addressed and debated on the floor of Parliament in there. Let's first get to listen to what Adria Leone said. That is where also we believe the information is best from the horse's mouth, and that is why we're here. Let's first get to the MP and listen to what he said as we get to continue with the show later on.
As you're very much aware that we've been in a struggle to look for signatures to debate a matter of national importance in this parliament. I want to thank God that from 0 we went up to 172. We are left with 5. We pray to God that we get the 5. Reason being, we voted for you, Speaker. The Speaker and you, we voted for you to chair this House neutrally. Right, Honourable Speaker, you have failed to defend this House. The President painted us clearly in Kololo during the State of the Nation address that I used to hear, but I have now confirmed with evidence that there is corruption in the Parliament of Uganda and the Ministry of Finance. My first question is, you as the chair, as the Speaker, what have you done to clean our image, which has been painted bad? In the streets we are moving, they are calling us corrupt. On this same Parliament, we requested you yourself and Speaker, Right Honorable Anita Among, that there is exhibition of Parliament going on issues of corruption. Give us space on the order paper to have this matter debated. It is 2 months down the road. The world is aware that there's corruption in this Parliament. We want this matter to be debated. Why are you running away from that debate? You are meant to be neutral. Give space for all of us equally. Why are you making us suffer? Running through this country looking for signatures to debate this matter of corruption in this Parliament. You need to come out clean. Right Honourable Speaker, you, Right Honourable Anita Among, has been painted out for being corrupt. Your name has been mentioned for being corrupt. We are also having a motion to have a matter debated on the commissioners. We have our evidence. We want to lay and have them defend themselves. You are all blocking us from that. What is this Parliament all about? Where are you taking this country? Today, this country is under panic. Today, they have deployed the army massively because of issues of corruption in this country. Why don't you let Ugandans free from corruption? Why don't you allow us debate the matter of corruption in this Parliament, here in this floor? It is too much. We are not thieves. All these MPs have been painted. If we know we are clean like me, screen me. We have evidence against them. We have evidence. So we need this matter be debated. You need to clean your name, Deputy Speaker yourself. Anita Among needs to clean her name. The commissioners need to clean their names. The ministers need to clean their names. And as MPs, if you have anything against us in this Parliament, we need to clean our names.
Thank you.
Why don't you want this matter to be debated on this floor? Deputy Speaker, we need this matter addressed.
Thank you.
If not, we are ready to join the Ugandans because you're blocking us the opportunity to debate. We were voted by our voters to come and debate. Why are you running away from debate, Deputy Speaker? Why is Anita Among running away from debate? Why? We need a Parliament which is free corruption.
Thank you, Honorable Arion. Thank you. Now, honorable colleagues, the Honorable Arion.
Well, That is Aringa South MP Leonie Odia York under NRM ticket in there, and he was able to move the floor of parliament as you have seen there, and that is what we want from West Nile MPs, and that is the spirit of what we call being a West Niler in there. We want to say we are proud of that, and that's only where we also going to be leaving that discussion aside with. And I believe also you had his queries and you had his concerns about the fight against corruption. And when we are to fight corruption, definitely the fight starts with me and you, and we all have a part to play in terms of addressing the issues of corruption. And to fight corruption is not a one-man's show; it is a mandate all, and we have to support whoever also is against also corruption in there. And the head of state also recently came out, as also alluded by the MP in there. Recently, he had also the president said he has been hearing of corruption. Now that he has evidence, and we have seen a number of possibly being arrested for that. And should we say we need more arrests? I definitely want to say yes, and that's only where we have lost a lot of resources and a lot of opportunities as a state, as a nation. And that is where I want to say we need to also make sure we address the issues of corruption, and to fight corruption is definitely our part to play. Me and you have something to do, and that is what we did see yesterday. And remember the person we are talking about, Leonie Odia York, together with Sechikubo, also Theodore of Lemiaga County, have been traversing the country, also really seeking for the signatures of the members of parliament. And today the size of the parliament is over 500, where also we have gotten to realize that today the country is looking at also a number of about 500 also really MPs who are also in the parliament in there, but really out of that they have only secured, that is called, we call 174 signatures. What does that mean? Could it be that some members of parliament out of the 557 in parliament have refused to sign? And who are those who have refused to solely bring the matter, or that's solely where they are seeking for signatures to bring brought on floor parliament? And I believe it is actually the whole house, not only the speaker and also the deputy in there, who have refused to allow the matter to be brought also on the floor of parliament in there, because we still have some who, about 5, who have refused to also make the numbers, also because the numbers also required is about 179, and now these MPs only have about 173 or 74 in there, and that means also the 5 have yet also are yet to sign. And who are those who have purposely refused to sign? And these are possibly, I believe, who are corrupt in there. And I believe, just like them, also there's a lot that needs to be known, because we don't expect the 4 commissioners also to sign. But what about the rest of the colleagues who are also not corrupt in there? Because everyone is saying I'm not corrupt. And who is corrupt now? That is only where the debate also would have been important. And I believe we have something to do in terms of that, and that's only something where at the end of the day that will also really free the country from corruption, because corruption from there is something also really we also need to look forward to, because at the end of the day that is where also really we are going to be doing that discussion later on. And as we get to also move on, we are going to be also doing that later on. And later on we shall be connecting to Alfred Jawok, who will also be giving us also the affairs from that is the Alur land in the update he will be giving us. That is already as we get on with the show, and that is also later on where he will be joining us through a phone call. But let's also leave that aside, and that's just a brief information, and he will be also joining us in a while in there. But let's talk about the matters also really of the ongoing also really issues of corruption, because when you talk about corruption, many times people feel it is all about money. But we're not saying that. We're not also looking at corruption in that form. What about those contracts within the local government that are signed under unclear circumstances? That is still a form of corruption. What about the disposal of vehicles under unclear circumstances, where we are seeing bidders already coming out, but really the vehicle at the end of the day disappears like that, and whoever buys it remains unknown? And that is one thing also really, I believe, where corruption has also really been also seen in there. But that is where we are going to be leaving the discussion in relation to corruption aside. And I believe we have also talked about it extensively in there, and I hope you as the viewer also really has something now that you have gotten about that. And now, who is to fight corruption? It's our mandate all, where schools have now been rallied to join the war against corruption in there. Now that's still another thing that we are seeing, where a cleric from the Catholic faith also really has tasked institutions of learning to save the country from the dangerous vice of corruption. corruption also through preparing the learners, and these are also who come from the schools, and that is one thing also I feel at the end of the day, once we give in keen attention, it will also help us as a nation to solely address the matter of corruption in that, and that's why we did this. John Waynard Katende, the director of that's the foyer, the Christianity Retreat Center in Namugongo, solely made that remark in their way. He said it is now the students and also the institutions who are to save the country from the corruption here, because corrupt leaders also come from the schools, they come from our societies, and also, they also come from our families before taking up these offices in there, and that is where we need to prepare our learners also to be not corrupt in there, because corruption has affected the nation in several ways, and that is one thing also really we need to also really make sure we talk about the issues of corruption. And today when we talk about corruption, really it is something I must say is so much nagging, but how do we make sure that we talk about corruption and make sure that also we achieve the fruits? And that is something also really at the end of the day where also really we are talking about. And today the voters also really much as we are blaming the parliamentarians, we the voters also have a mandate to also play in terms of fighting corruption. Issues of also really Ambandudiri is something also we need to look forward to. And when I talk about Ambandudiri, this is the sitting allowance where people do not want to live without the money. And as a politician, when you move the voters, even if it is an issue of national importance, definitely you will be able to see pens and papers moving. And whoever brings papers, they come with intentions of also really allowance in there, because that is for accountability. They write the names down at the end of the day after summarizing your speech. Definitely you receive that paper, and what does that paper mean? It means you have to now pay for their sitting allowance. But is that really right? Don't you think that is promoting corruption? Definitely, I must say yes, because when you talk about corruption, really, I must say it is something very much nagging. We have lost good hospitals, we have lost good roads, all to corruption, and whoever is at the risk, it is all of us also who suffer in there. Now, what about the procurement? So we have seen fake products being procured because there was some corruption solely involved in the way in there. What about the shoddy works? Because the contracts sometimes solely are awarded under unclear circumstances, and all this has contributed to the corruption, and the negative implication has been faced by all of us, and our children will also face the negative repercussions of the corruption. That means the time is now to also make sure we kick the vice out of the country in there. And now Museveni has tasked the new Auditor General to also really smell corruption, and definitely that's also something where he has been tasked to start sniffing the nose to sort of look for whoever is corrupt. And that is one thing also I believe at the end of the day will address and also kick off the corrupt personnel in there. And now President Museveni has urged the new Auditor General, Mr. Edward Akol, to smell any corrupt tendencies in the government, and that is something also we did see happening in that while speaking also at Mr. Akol's swearing in ceremony that took place at also the Entebbe State House on Monday. The president congratulated Mr. Cole before urging him also to do things differently, as also something we did see happening, and where he congratulated him upon also being bestowed as the new Auditor General in there. And what about corruption auditors? The president also questioned the new Auditor General about corrupt auditors, saying that they should not also depend solely on written evidence, but rather use also what we call the public to gather information about corruption. And when we talk about using the public to gather information about corruption, we definitely have a role to play as whistleblowers. If you see somebody is corrupt, pick your phone and report to IG. Pick a phone and report to these new agencies that are going to be created. Pick a phone and report to police, so that investigations in the matter can be carried out, and that's solely where we expect extensive investigations, and also where we expect the results to be told also before the masses. And we need action also about also corruption in there, because we have lost a lot of properties, a lot of good things already as a nation that's in the hands of corruption in, and today we have also being tainted with corruption, and that is really something wrong. And that's also something I feel when we are to talk about Uganda, definitely that's something also very much bad, but we're not saying corruption is not in other parts of the country, but today, that is something also which many people also raise concern of. And I believe the concerned citizens also now have to also do their part, much as we are saying riots are never the way to go. We need to embrace dialogue as demanded and also as asked for by, that is the Minister for Youth and Children Affairs, Bala Matei, in there, where he said he is ready to meet the youth, and the President also as well is ready to meet the nation also in terms of also the issue of corruption in there. And that is something I feel we need to also make sure we talk about in there. The oath was administered by the head of public service and secretary also, that is to cabinet, Mr. Lucy Nachobe, in there, which was also attended by a number of dignitaries also in there. And Mr. Cole recently was appointed, Mr. Museveni recently appointed Mr. Cole as Auditor General, and he was subsequently also approved by Parliament on July 4th in there. And he replaces Mr. John Mwanga, who was retired after serving for more than 20 years. And Mr. Akol also joined the office of the Auditor General as an auditor in the year 1994, and now has also risen also to that top position in there. And that means also we need to congratulate him, because it is not easy to keep in some of these institutions for some long period of time, because definitely within 20 years there could be a lot of hurdles also in his work in there. But now I believe also the promotion means he has been doing the right things. And what does this mean to the juniors who have just joined any institution? It could not be solely in government, it could be within the private sector. I want to say you can still rise to the ranks. And also that's quite simple, where your obedience and allegiance only to and remaining committed to work is actually very, very much key. And that's also where your reputation also is very, very much important to also rise through the ranks in there, because at the end of the day you may join as a small worker, but you end up rising to the top levels in there. And that is something which is quite possible, and I want to also encourage whoever is watching us right now, and you could just have joined any institution, but I'm saying you still can rise through the ranks in there, because it is also where you must also work hard for, because promotions do not just come like that. And present at the function, which also for the swearing included Finance Minister Matia Kasaija, the Permanent Secretary also in the Ministry of Finance, Mr. Ramadan Gobi, and the Clerk to Parliament also, that's also Adolphe Mwesje, and Akol's family members who were also able to grace the event in the President Museveni, and say also, and these technical also have committed to term graft, which according to also the 2015 report by Parliament cost the country more than 24 trillion also over the last 10 years in there. And in the years of State of Nation address, the President also already announced that his government is determined to stamp out graft like never before, and I believe this is only clearly manifested now with the arrest also really of several leaders in there. And when we talk about several leaders, we have not seen anybody spared, right from the parliamentarians. We are now seeing also some people still under fear, because we have been told more arrests are going to be carried out on, and that's something also I feel at the end of the day also we need to also make sure that we talk about that in there. And I believe that is where I want to leave the discussion aside to that aside, as we get to move on with the show. And yesterday we did see the Uganda Law Society also deploys lawyers to secure release of detained protesters. Is something we did see happening in yesterday, and who also fighting corruption in there. Now the Uganda Law Society has sent a team of lawyers also to Ginger Road Police CPS also to have the release of their arrested also protesters in there. And Uganda Law Society President also, that's Bernard Oundo, accompanied also by the lawyers in the Legal Aid Project, arrived at the police station to arrange also for bond for detained individuals also in there. They have now been informed that they will need to await before any further actions can be taken in there. Now the ULS representatives also visiting other stations where protesters are being also detained, also had legal representation in there, and I believe that is something also really at the end of the day which is quite important. And leaving that aside, now let's move into some of the stories. Museveni rallies cooperatives on Pan-Africanism spirit. That is another story that we feel that we need to also let you know of this early morning in here, where President Museveni has rallied the cooperative movement under their respective cooperative society to embrace the spirit of Pan-Africanism also as part of the wider approach to external markets also for the surplus produce in there. Because today when you look in business also, if at all there's produce, if there's surplus of produce, then definitely the demand also may be affected in there, because if at all the demand is very few in economics, usually we say the lower the production, the higher the demand. And the higher the production, the lower the demand in there, because goods also will circulate in the market. And I believe that is also something at the end of the day also which relates to this in there. Where we did see the President, his message delivered by Third Deputy Prime Minister Ms. Rukia Nakadam also asked the cooperatives to also use and utilize also what we call the Pan-African spirit in there. And this was during the International Cooperatives Day held in Bukama Simbi, also they were on 21st of July in there. Under the cooperatives, where he asked them to look beyond the Ugandan boundaries. It means that also if at all have produced many goods from Uganda, why don't they think of taking them to South Sudan, where I know the demand is quite high? Why don't I think of the DRC market? Why don't I think about the Kenya market? Definitely, these are also the opportunities also we need to look out for in business. If at all the produce cannot be consumed by the country, let's think of also taking it to where the countries where the demand is still there, because at the end of the day, the countries may not be able to produce what is here. And that's where one of the products I feel that needed to also have that export market is our matoke. Look at matoke coming from areas of Zombo, areas of Logiri, areas of in the entire road district. You know that the matoke is coming out in plenty, but the demand is still very, very much low. And where a bunch of also matoke is going below the expected price in there. And what does it mean? It means that these people now start need to start looking out for external markets and under the spirit of Pan-Africanism in there, because that is something I feel at the end of the day that will make many people already engage in farming. It is really quite sad where farmers already anticipate to get a certain amount of money, but really to their dismay, if they get the money, is very low, because sometimes people borrow money for doing farming. Others use loans. But how do they also be affected by what we call shortages, already maybe price fluctuations in there? That's where we want to talk about issues of price fluctuation. And that's where I also want to ask the government to come up with regulations on certain also goods also which are being produced in there, because at the end of the day, if at all that is not done, so many people are going to pull off also from what we call what we call also production in there, because many people do not want to engage in crop production today. And today, with the return of the rains, many people have also really been raising a lot of issues in terms of soil production in there. When the rains have returned, many areas within West Nile sub-region are witnessing rains. But how do the population utilize this, and how can the populace also take advantage of the return of the rains in there is something also we need to understand, because the rains have returned, yes, but somebody may not be interested in necessarily getting the benefit of the rains there, because the rains have returned. But somebody out there could not be interested in, first of all, taking the advantage of the rains. And that is something also where I want to now ask whoever is out there, mostly to the colleague youths, we need to utilize the rains, and if at all there's land, let's engage in farming. Let's also go digging, because at the end of the day, each and everybody wants to eat. And that is only something where, if at all we can be able to solely engage in vegetable production, the market is still high. Other than that, we may not be able to think about the issues of external markets, because I believe the markets in Uganda are still quite enough. And that is one thing also really I feel at the end of the day will be quite important. And as we move on with the show, that is something also where we need to also inform you, and led by also Kibirige Coffee Farmers Cooperative Limited, and what we call also the theme Cooperatives Build a Better Future. The cooperatives already reminded the government of their repeated also appeals for the revival of the cooperative bank in there, because many people have actually been demanding for the revival and also the restoration of what we call the Uganda Cooperative Bank in there, where they feel these foreign banks really are not giving them enough in terms of already having access to money in there, because they believe this bank was doing also really a lot of work for them before it became defunct. And now that's also where they're asking for the government to restore the bank and also really bring it back. And also that would also enable them borrow money at maybe affordable rates, because they feel sometimes these banks also which are foreign owned have also not made them also to utilize a lot of money. And today we have very few banks which are also Ugandan owned in there. And that is something also that didn't go on well with these people, and I feel their demand also for the revival of the Uganda Cooperative Bank is due. And this would actually make our Ugandan farmers borrow money at affordable rates, and then it would also really act as a source of employment. That's all to the youth who may also be employed in. And now some of these youths who are in the streets, who have the papers for in economics, in finance, will be incorporated in this bank. And that's also where, with branches established across the country, many youths also could be able to be employed in there. The revival of this bank is actually, to me, long overdue, as the demand has always been there. And I believe this is the right time now, government also listen to the pleas of the farmers for the revival of this bank in there. That's why we did see Mr. Jonas Tweyambe, the chairperson also of this Uganda Cooperatives Alliance, say the cooperators want also waiver of unfair tax levied against cooperative societies, with also the reduction of that's only the tax in there. They want policies and regulations to be streamlined and under the single unit also to ease compliance, where the State Minister for ICT Trade, General Wilson Badi, lauded the government also for providing security that has enabled also more cooperatives to operate, also leading to 18 million registered cooperatives in the country in there. It was also security that led also to the collapse of many of the cooperatives in Uganda, which he did say in there. But how do we make sure that the cooperatives rise? Mr. Frederick Ngobi Gume, the State Minister for Cooperatives, advised cooperators to add value also to their produce to exploit more market opportunities in there. And that's also the way, if I told you, maybe producing cassava, turn the cassava into final products. And that's something also with the coming of electricity. Remember, any time from now, West Nile also will be connected to the national grid. And that's where we want to see more factories. We want to see more opportunities where the cassava that is being produced in surplus can be converted maybe in ethanol, and the matoke that is coming in surplus can be turned into crisps. And that would also make sure that also the produce that is being produced here is not put into waste in there. Mr. Solomon Kayemba, the MP for Komasimbi, and a member of the Committee for Trade and Cooperatives, added that the cooperatives are among the mechanisms already that that unite the people as many as possible in there. And we did see of as of February 2020, Uganda had a total of that is about 21,346 registered cooperatives with an estimated that is 5.6 million members in there. And if at all you are not yet maybe a member, then you need to start sort of looking forward to sort of being a member in there. And that is where we are becoming to the end of our first hour. This is the KOKOLIRIKO live show on West Nile TV channel 477 and online across all our social media platforms. And remember, you can also as well watch us via Zuku, where we on channel 0073, where you can watch us each and every mornings right from 7 o'clock until 9 o'clock. But for now, we are going to be taking yet another short commercial break that will be ushering us into the second hour of the show. Stay tuned as we bounce back shortly.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
Miss Uganda 2024 Grand Finale is here. 28 finalists, one crown. On Saturday, 3rd of August at 8 p.m. Sheraton Hotel. True Ugandan beauty will be spiced up with glamour and entertainment from the legendary Maddox Matimba, the popular Abe Kabad and Jackie Chandiru. The show will broadcast live exclusively on Makula Chika on Star Times at 8 p.m. Come, let's celebrate Ugandan beauty. Sponsored by VNA, Alemzed, Comform, Nanjing Hotel, Kira Motors, Sheraton, Uganda Airlines, and lead sponsors Dress Textiles and U-Home. Miss Uganda 2024, True Ugandan Beauty.
Peters College Girls invites parents, political leaders at all levels, civil servants, civil society organizations, the business communities, cultural leaders, OGs of our girls and OBs of St. Aloysius College Nyapera, schools representatives within Zombo, and all well-wishers for the school's Patron Saints Day on the 20th of July 2024 at the school starting at 10 a.m. with Holy Mass to be presided over by His Grace Raphael Pumonyo Courage, the Archbishop of Gulu Archdiocese. There will be a fundraising to collect funds for the renovation of staff houses and purchase of a grinding mill for the school. The chief guest for the day will be Dr. Joyce Kadushu Moriku, the State Minister for Primary Education. My name is Gramia Vivian, the head girl of St. Peter's College Girls. I also invite you all.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
All right. right, welcome back from the short commercial break, and now to also really continue with the discussions. But first thing first, allow me go through some of your comments, and in case you are just joining us right now, you're most welcome aboard. And just like whoever is watching us right now with the comments, we thank you so much, and we welcome those comments. But really to go through some of the comments that we have seen here, we have Charles Kothrat, who says he's watching from Kampala, and Kampala is very far also. I would have joined the youths that is in marching to Parliament in there. And Kothrat, you have not told us where you're watching us from, but thank you so much. And where you're saying Kampala is very far. You can still start from wherever you are. It could be within Arua, it could be Nebi, but still, you could watch and also walk in there, because we have pilgrims who have walked from South Sudan to Uganda, and we have others who have trekked from Kenya to Uganda, and maybe you could be a pilgrim of corruption in there, but we are living that and we're not encouraging that. We do also have Jamik Liberty saying, I'm so glad to hear a great news from West Nile TV, and I'm enjoying it. Thank you so much also for watching, and also for that wonderful comment in there. And finally, we have Hawa Raima also says, still you could fight from there, and definitely that message also could be going to Charles Kotrach, and I believe just like them in there, they have also really had the message, and that's also where I want to welcome the comments. If at all you have any, keep them coming through, and I will be in position to also go through it later on. But as we get to move on with the show, we still have lots more issues also coming, and in Pakwach district, still talking about the same vice, which also is said to be the cancer that has consumed our economy. Talking about corruption now, we have two officials from Pakwach suspected of corruption who have also been arrested in there, and now that's where we are going to be connecting to Alfred Jawak for that update in there, and also let us know what exactly happened and under circumstances have these people been arrested and where have they been taken. Alfred, good morning. Yes, Alfred, good morning. You're live on West Nile TV, KOKOLIRIKO live show.
Yes, good morning.
Yes, maybe talking about the issue of the two suspects who are being arrested, under what circumstances, and what have they been suspected of, and talking about the corruption, which is said to be the cancer eating our economy.
Yes, good morning to you, Farish Majid, and good morning to all our viewers. I'm Alfred Jawok, reporting from Pakwach district at the moment, and I want to assure the public, and I want to assure all our viewers, that two staff members from Pakwach district local government have been arrested after failing to account for over 200 million shillings. And these suspects are Anena Rachel Mary, Senior Assistant Secretary, and Frank Odoma, the sub-county accountant, and they are set to appear in the corruption court in Kampala today. They were arrested yesterday, according to Pakwach Resident District Commissioner, that is Paul Eferu. And the arrest followed continued complaints on the allegations of mismanagement of funds under revenue sharing from Uganda Wildlife Authority and District Discretionary Equalization Grant. That's what we call DDEG during the financial year 2021 and 2022. Farid and all our viewers, following the Pakwach District Auditors report dated 20th June 2024, the DO did not satisfactorily provide accountability for funds amounting to over 200 million shillings and did not pay retention fee to providers worth 16 million shillings. Farish, I want to assure you, when I visited Pakwach police station, and these two suspects are in custody. Okay. This occurred when the DO were entrusted with the responsibilities of managing Pakwach sub-county in Pakwach district. When I say about Pakwach sub-county, Anena was Senior Assistant Secretary or sub-county chief. Locally we know sub-county chief. And Odoma was sub-accountant of the sub-county. By the time of the arrest, Anena was posted in Panymutan Council. She was arrested. She was arrested from Panymut sub-county as sub-county chief, and the sub-county accountant Udoma was deployed as revenue officer in the district. And remember, recently Pakwach district conducted a complete overhaul and transfer of staff across the district to improve service delivery, and this did not go well with these two government officials from Pakwach district. And Farish, I want to say, at the moment as I talk now, they are being taken to Kololo at the anti-corruption court in Kampala.
Talking about the environment in Pakwach, how is it like? Are people demanding for the release, or it is calm as usual?
The definitely the environment or the situation in calm, because corruption, everyone wants to fight corruption. And as I talk now, the RDC Pakwati district, according to him, he said he has few friends now in Pakwati district because of this fight against corruption. And everyone, even some of the staff, they want them to be arraigned before court for so that they refund back the money. And when they were asked to refund back the money, they pleaded not guilty. They said they did not maybe embezzle this fund, but the close source says that when they were in Pakwach sub-county, all the money were given to them.
So Alfred, finally, I want to understand, how is the fight against corruption in there? Because yesterday we had planned protests and also planned move, that is to Parliament in there. And how was it like in Pakwach district? If you can maybe briefly paint us that image of how the activities didn't go on Pakwach, but in Kampala, we were able to see also the heavy deployment of police and security agencies. Was it the same in Pakwach?
I want to assure you again, because maybe Zombo Pakwach, no any other person wanted to protest. I think the protest is in Kampala. We did see in Gulu, some people wanted the youth to go to protest in Kampala, and they feared. They never went. And even in Pakwach, the situation was calm. You know what is happening in Kampala? Our youth, they may not be aware, and they don't like to participate in such protests. And even now, these youth, they're very quiet. And though some of people, they're trying to say, we want to join our colleagues in Kampala to go and protest, but Farid, I want to assure you, the situation is calm. No one is thinking maybe of joining their colleagues to protest. And also yesterday, we saw 20 people were arrested, and you see how they were grabbed from parliamentary avenues. Security in Kampala was very tight, and I know even today, the security is still tight, and our youth, the people of Greater Navy, they are not minding about the protest.
Okay, what about the police? Is the police moving around, like to check if they are told there are any maybe signs of protest?
No.
Okay.
They are doing usual patrol at night. You know how they move, army and police. They move at night. They are doing their usual patrol, but not to discuss or not to expect that maybe this youth will maybe come on the road to protest. The situation is calm.
Okay, talking about the station being calm, Alfred, thank you so much for that update. I don't know if you have anything you want to say forward.
Yes, finally yesterday we had a burial for a teacher who was found dead 3 days ago in his own house, located in Arumuking, Navy municipality. This teacher, Robert Yonekane, was laid to rest in his ancestral home in Povona village. And also, we saw team from ISO's office. They came and we joined hands together. And remember the message from Bishop Ofonge, the Bishop of Pentecostal Assemblies of God, and also the overseer of this ministry in West Nile region. He urged civil servants to always be mindful to check on their health status before the situation become worse. And as far as Majid, I don't have much to say. We are here, and I want to say many thanks to all our viewers. This is Alfred the Walk reporting from Pakwach district.
All right, thank you so much, Alfred. Our eyes on ground in terms of solely covering the entire West Nile sub-region and wanting to understand what is happening within the local governments within West Nile sub-region in there. And we remain committed to doing that because our #1 mandate remains, that is to enlighten the region. And we are not going to be doing that alone. Me and you have a role to play in terms of solely enlightening the region in there, because if I tell you are sensing any form of corruption, let us know. We will be able to also act as whistleblowers on your behalf and also kick the corruption out in there, because we are now to clean the city and clean the different other local governments also within West Nile sub-region in there. And we remain committed to do that. And now talking about corruption in also the different local governments in a rural city before we get and move on. And I want to also really pray for the soul of this teacher who was laid to rest also in that area in there, because teachers are parents. And that's why today we are saying teachers need to help the world, need to help the country in producing learners who are now not corrupt, because the entire mandate now goes back to schools in terms of preaching the dangerous vices of the corruption. corruption also in there, because the corruption also has eaten the economy very, very much, and that's where we're saying we need to also now join hands with the teachers and talk about the corruption that is also there in the country there, because if at all we're not doing that, we remain also really those who are going to be suffering the negative repercussions of the corruption. And today that is something also that is said to be eating up the economy. But who is to fight the corruption? Me and you have the mandate to do that. And that's only where at the end of the day we are going to be doing it for our benefits and whoever is to come after us, because we do not want to come and find our children to also find the same corruption. And that is one thing also really I feel I need to also really talk about. May the soul of the teacher rest in eternal peace, because teachers are parents, and definitely also the world is because of teachers, and all the career paths that people take is because of the teachers. You become a lawyer because of a teacher, you become a doctor because of a teacher, you become an engineer because of a teacher, still you become a clergy also really still because of a teacher, because you still go through the schools of theology, and all these are teachers, or what we call the mualimus in the Islamic faith also in there. But that is something also really where I want to say teachers are very, very much important, and I want to thank Alfred Jawak for that update, and that's also where we remain committed to enlightening up the region in there. And as we get moving on the show, so many issues continue to happen in the country, and I want to also inform you that these are also really across the boundaries of the entire also the country in there, and that's where we're going to be keeping you informed of what continues to also happen also really, that is the entire country in there. Talking about also really the demise of the teacher, we also did see another boss also killed in a road accident. Is another story also really we are seeing on the paper this morning, where support of the lead of NRM also already is said to be also already dead in that following accident also already, where with this nationalist movement vice chairperson for Karamoja region, Simon Peter Aleper, has died in a motor accident along that is the Iganga-Tirinyi road, and this road is just like the Masaka Highway. Today we are seeing so many cases also already of accidents happening here, and remember recently we also witnessed an accident of a taxi also which caught fire on the same road in there. But how today people also really work on this road, and today we have seen so many people also dying on that highway, and that means also really now drivers need to also really minimize on their speed as they're on this road. And sources within the NRM have disclosed that the deceased has been traveling also only for the ruling party's central executive meeting, also that was supposed to be taking place in the Busoga East Region Police spokesperson in a statement also say police also in a statement said the accident also really occurred at about 1 a.m. at Bukona along Iganga-Tirinyi highway in there, and the accident also really was a head collision on a Toyota V8 registration number, that's UAP 787Q, and another vehicle also whose expression remain also not also easily established by press time in that. Aleper was driving the V8 and died on the spot also really, according to police in there. Now the deceased was coming from Bali side and collided with unknown MV also which was coming from Iganga direction, and which lost control and veered off the road in. And Miss Aleper is also lost to Francis Adome Lokirika in Moroto also really in the last general elections in there. And you remember he was one of those parliamentary contestants also really who lost the elections in there, and that is also really where we continue to pray for the soul to rest in eternal peace. And also really we need to also really be mindful of now how we are driving on these roads, and that's where we are saying we need to avoid issues of panicking and avoid issues of also really going and also really hurrying, because sometimes people also really get caught up by time, and as they are struggling to reach their final destinations, that's also really where at the end of the day we have seen them also really being involved in accidents, and that's where we continue to say may his soul rest in eternal peace. And that is something also we did see happening. And now leaving that aside, now a man has been jailed to 6 months for threatening to kill his mother. Very ironic and also really very unexpected. How do you intend to kill your mother? And now you are jailed for 6 months just for threatening to kill your own mother who brought you on this world. Where is the world taking us? This is also the negative part of it all, but really we are saying this is unexpected. It's also really ironic in nature, but really how do we also really deal with such people in the society? And now a court in Kabale on July 23rd sentenced what we call a 35-year-old male resident of Kabira in Rwachuchu sub-county in Ruchiga district to 6 months also in prison after he pleaded guilty to the charge of also threatening to kill his mother before he destroyed the property of his sister-in-law in there. But really how and what exactly is causing this? And we did see court presided over by Kabale Principal Grade 1 Magistrate Mr. Julius Mutabazi also heard from the prosecution that on December 28th of 2023 while at also already at Kibira village in Ruchiga district, Banet Agawa with intent also already intimidate, insult or annoy or threaten to kill his mother Miss Penina also Chomhendo after a domestic misunderstanding also already before he willful also already wanted to also already unlawful damage to those of his sister-in-law Miss Violence Isimisire, a resident of the same area in there. But really how how do such also matters come into existence? Which kind of world are we living in today? How do we make sure that such matters also really do not continue to happen in? And after he was convicted on plea of guilty, Agaba asked court also for a lenient also punishment, saying that he was young children, he has young children to cater for, also really, and sister-in-law for offenses he committed against them, and also really ask forgiveness from the same people also in there. But really, what comes to your mind to start also really threatening to kill your own mother? This is very, very much unexpected, and this is very, very much also really unbelievable. But how do we see this, and what does this tell of the society today? It means that people's mindsets are very, very much dirty. It means that people are very, very much also bad today. It means that so people need to also come out. And who exactly is to make sure that people's mindset is cleaned? It is the religious institutions. It is the faith-based leaders. I mean, the pastors and the imams. They have a mandate to also ensure that when they are in the altars, in the mimbaris, they need to talk to the masses, and the Christians need to talk to the people they lead, and that would also really help clean people's minds. And the Muslims also really need to talk to the people on Fridays and also during other prayers also in there. On Sundays and Saturdays, we also really expect the same message of respect to go on, because today we have seen the society also degenerating in terms of also the moral decadence, where people also really do not have respect for their mothers and elders at large, and that is something also really which I feel is very, very much bad in us. That prosecution led by Rachel Nkwazi asked court also to impose a deterrent sentence to the convict, since cases of similar nature were rampant in the area. It means also now the leaders there need to join hands in terms of addressing this matter, if at all such cases are now very, very much in there. But really, I believe this could be caused by, first of all, drug abuse. Many people are drinking alcohol, others are smoking bad things. But these, at the end of the day, make people also lose respect and lose lack of also, and become really responsible. But really, that is something also really I feel I need to question you, the viewer, of. I need to also warn you of as well. But how do we make sure that this matters does not go on and on? That is where I'm leaving the discussion aside. Now let's leave that aside, talking about environmental concern. Remember, the head of state, General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, recently came out to address the nation on issues of also wealth creation and other issues of national importance, where he talked about the fight against the environment and climate also in there through the restoration of the wetlands. And today we are seeing Minister Kasolo, General Kasai Kayanja have been cited in illegal sand mining that is in massacre in there, and this is already against what we call the laws of also sand mining. Now the Minister for Microfinance, Ms. Aruna Cheyunem Kasolo and Major General Eli Kayanja are among the people implicated in the degrading of wetlands in Lake Victoria shores of Masaka district in there. But what does this mean as we are talking about also really evicting the people who are vulnerable? What about those big dignitaries who are also really doing a lot of and making a lot of monies through that's also really removing sand from the water bodies in there? But how, and how do you deal with such people, and what exactly needs to be done to them? Because some of these people sometimes are said to be the untouchables. Are they the untouchables that we're talking about right now, or the untouchables that we have been hearing of while doing evictions? Definitely that's something also we are going to be following up on. And both Mr. Kasolo and General Kayanja are allegedly said to be engaging in sand mining activities in the fragile ecosystems, but we are never sanctioned by the Environment Protection Body, which is NEMA. And I believe this is where implementation of the orders needed to be carried out also without people necessarily developing fears and also really rats of some people remaining untouched in there, because the issue of people remaining untouched has always dragged the nation behind. And look at the recent evictions which happened also really in the areas of Kampala. Many people have raised concern that the petrol station has remained there in place, and recently we also got information that this petrol station remained in existence because it sought for, that's the compliance of NEMA, and NEMA was the one who actually permitted the petrol station to be established in there after considering environmental concerns in there. But really, how do you make sure that such matters do not make the people feel neglected, do not make the people feel despised, do not make the people feel discriminated? These are all things that people need to be looking into, because sometimes the vulnerable poor who have been evicted also really go through a lot, and they tend to also think that now sometimes people who have money do not think about them and look about evictions. Many times also simple being evicted off their lands where they have been for quite a long period of time, where this has also subjected them to also really a lot of pain, a lot of misery, and a lot of suffering. But that is where we're saying, if at all there is any also really implementation of such executive orders also to be implemented It must be implemented on all, and such generals, such leaders must lead by example, because as a leader, we not necessarily intend to cite your name and necessarily hear your name. Right now, it is a rumor. Right now, it's also treated as an allegation, but really, if at all they are into this activity, how do we make sure also really that they are not really also really into that activity? Because at the end of the day, we have seen people also really suffering as a result of that. And how at the end of the day is this going to also really mean on that ordinary person? Definitely, I believe that also really has an implication, and then me and you have something to do towards achieving a sustainable environment in there, because for us to attain a sustainable environment, we have also all the text where we are all game players, make sure also that these issues do not also raise doubts in the mindsets of the ordinary people in there, because the ordinary people sometimes think that there are people who are untouchable. And who are these untouchables? These are the leaders also who are behind what we call these issues in there. Now the district team discovered that these heaps of maram were being dumped already and in wetlands to create access roads, and also already there are wet and wetlands also already, and there we also drainage channels and temporary also structures constructed at the various sand mines for shelter also in there. And also the sand mines lack good sanitary facilities for proper disposal of human waste in there. And that is something also really happening. And according to the district leaders, on the two illegal sand mining sites along Masakapo Kakata Road in Mazigo, also wetland, one belongs to Kasolo and another one belongs to also really, that is Mr. Roda Sekai in Nanserere wetland, along that is Lambu Road in there. The mining site belongs to General Kaeanja, while the other mining site in Senero also wetland is for businessman and local known as Miss Gilda Nakato. All these activities are naturally said that are illegal and also violate the environmental regulations in there. But how do these people get access to that land, and who permitted them to also go on with the activities, and where did they get the licenses to also go on with the operations? And if at all they're there illegally, and what are the local governments doing? It means that people are somewhere sitting on their duties, and they actually deserve to also answer the questions. If at all somebody comes and is operating for quite a long period of a time within also in your area, within also seeking for regulations, it means that you are not doing enough surveillance. It means that you are still sitting on your duty, and you could also be termed as corruption, and also that's where I feel sometimes the corruption is also being witnessed. Maybe you are picking money from there unknowingly, but really that is one thing also we feel needed to be addressed. And the fight against corruption, which the president is saying that he has spearheaded, must be implemented also without any discrimination in there. And that's really where we all want to respect the executive order number 3, which was issued also by the president last year, to be related in there. Because looking at the environment concerns, today our trees have been cut down. We are living also in an area that is a bit semi-desert, but really today we are also seeing rains coming at a time also where they're not expected. And when we expect rains, when the farmers expect rains, the rains are not there. And what does it mean? It means that there is also really a climate change, which is a reality. And who exactly is to restore the fragile ecosystems? It is me and you who are to also do that. And we have to plant more trees. We need to disease is also really settling in wetlands, because looking at the flooding also which we have seen quite often in some of the areas, for instance in Kampala, has been attributed to also the encroachment on wetlands, because the wetlands also do a lot, first of all in terms of filtering the water and also absorbing the other water also coming from other places in there. But when we start settling on them, definitely that's also going to be impacted, and that's also going to be impacting on us as well. And that is where we're saying leaders must join hands in terms of really fighting the vice of environment protection, because to protect the environment, for us to live in a healthy environment, is actually our collective duty and our collective mandate to achieve so. And that is where we are saying we need to join hands with the rest of the leaders in terms of solely fighting, that is also really the injustices happening in the wetlands in there. And that's also really where we're saying if at all the evictions must apply to all, without the ordinary people already feeling they have been affected, others have been left. And that is also something I feel makes that ordinary person feel very, very much bad. But how do we make sure that this does not go on? Definitely you as the viewer has this best answer to that. And that's also something at the end of the day, as we get to move on with the show, we are just 2 minutes, that is to wind up with the first half of the second hour, and that will be ushering us into our last half. That's the 30 minutes that will be ushering us to 9 o'clock. And the main one, 9 o'clock, is our final destination, where we shall be having the news bulletin in Lubarati with Emmanuel. That will also really usher us into so many other programs that will be coming in the due course of the day. But before we get to give you that, we also need to talk about now the issues of wetlands. And remember, we talked about so many issues, and I believe also all this could be tracing back to corruption, and all this could be having a connection to what we call corruption. And today we have had extensive discussions in relation to what is happening in the world of corruption, and I believe you as the viewer could be of help. And that statement also you could be adding also could help somebody out understand what it terms also what we can do in terms of fighting corruption. And that's where I'm asking you now, what can we do as a country to kick off corruption? Definitely, that's also the question I'm posing to you this early morning. And also I will be going through that comment if at all you drop it later on. And for this goes to those who are watching us online on Facebook, on YouTube. But if you are still watching us, maybe via also really the StarTimes channel 477 and Zuku's on 0073, you can also take advantage of our various social media platforms and drop your comment in there, and I will be in position also really to check through some of the comments. For those who are watching us via X, still you can tag me and tag West Nile TV at large, and we shall also still go through that comment in there. And my social media handle on Twitter is Farish Majid Khan, and I will be in to also check your comment in there. But for now, it's a short commercial breather that will be ushering us into the last half of today's discussions. And we are going to be talking about sports, where the world of transfers is actually getting tense, and the teams are also really preparing ahead of the return of the season, where we also really just left with about 2 weeks and some days. That is to the start of the new season in there. But for now, let's take this short commercial break, and I will be doing that later on.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
Miss Uganda 2024 Grand Finale is here. 28 finalists, one crown. On Saturday, 3rd of August at 8 p.m. Sheraton Hotel. True Ugandan beauty will be spiced up with glamour and entertainment from the legendary Maddox Sematimba, the popular Abe Kabad, and Jackie Chandiru. The show will broadcast live exclusively on Makula Chika on StarTimes at 8 p.m. Come, let's celebrate Ugandan beauty. Sponsored by VNA, Alemzed, Comform, Nanjing Hotel, Kira Motors, Sheraton, Uganda Airlines, and lead sponsors Dress Textiles and U Home. Miss Uganda 2024, True Ugandan Beauty.
Teachers College Girls invites parents, political leaders at all levels, civil servants, civil society organizations, the business communities, cultural leaders, OGs of War Girls, and OBs of St. Aloysius College Nyapea, schools representatives within Zombo, and all well-wishers for the school's Patron Saints Day on the 20th of July 2024 at the school starting at 10 a.m. with Holy Mass to be presided over by His Grace Raphael Pumonyo Courage, the Archbishop of Gulu Archdiocese. There will be a fundraising to collect funds for the renovation of staff houses and purchase of a grinding mill for the school. The chief guest for the day will be Dr. Joyce Kadushu Moriku, the State Minister for Primary Education. My name is Gramia Vivian, the head girl of St. Peter's College of Girls. I also invite you all.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
Welcome back. The Commissioner General of Prisons, that is Johnson Biabashaija, has directed all prisons commanders to strengthen safety and security measures around their units in there, and that's solely where we are beginning our last half of the discussions with, and that's where we did see prisons orders commanders to strengthen safety measures already at workplaces in there is another story that we are seeing on the papers this morning, and the directive also already which applies to all regional and district police commanders as well as also the officer in charge of prisons comes amidst also already tensions across the country, which also already with the state segment of also Uganda's Generation Z, which is already abbreviated as the Zoomers already in there, and that is one thing we did see demonstrating also already against the corruption, also already plaguing parliament and the country, and in a statement also already Biabashaija outlined 6 that's already called security measures that must be adhered to by these commanders, and these among others include also all non-urgent movements and activities already, and increasing vigilance, surveillance and patrol around prison units, and keenly observing prisons already and visitors in there, and that is something also already we did see happening, and other measures and properly coordinating also already with security agents and other stakeholders, ensuring safety and security of prisoners that take precedence over the activities also in there. And yesterday we did see spokesperson of Uganda Prison Service, Frank Baini, also said that the prisons are always ready to accommodate also those who break the law in there, and that is also something that should serve as a warning that if at all you are going to break the law, the security is going to be catching up with you. But that is something also which we must also not wait for ourselves to be subjected to, because prisons are never places to stay in, much as we are saying that is the University of Understanding. But I really believe it's not a good place to stay in, and I believe also really just like you, the viewer, who has always had somebody who has been there, or else if you have been there, definitely you know that this is never a place to be in. And that's one thing also really where we did also see that military armored personnel carriers patrolled the streets, and that's something we did see yesterday, and that would also really subject you who is planning to move onto the streets solely into, and that would be something very much bad in there, and that is something we did see happening, and that's where we are leaving that discussion at that as we get to move on with so many other issues that continue to unfold on the story this morning. Minister both urges new NEC board to focus on growth and sustainability is another story that we are seeing on the paper this morning, where issues of accountability remain very key. But sometimes we see people who take over these positions, but they can hardly also account for the monies and the resources that they have received, which is really something wrong. And now the Minister of Defense and Veteran Affairs, Jacob Oboth, has urged the newly appointed Board of Directors, that is to the National Enterprise Corporation, abbreviated as NEC, also to prioritize the corporation's growth and also really the long-term sustainability of what we call the institution in there. The Minister urged the board to do also really the while maintaining a strong commitment to their also really statutory responsibilities in there, and that is something we did see where Minister Both, who made these remarks also really on Tuesday during the inauguration ceremony of the new Board of Directors of NEC, also really in a ceremony held in the next, so that's grounds in Bugolobi, which is in Kampala in there. Remember, NEC today also really is doing a lot of activities, that's in terms of construction, in terms of doing so many issues, and today they have a full football team that is doing quite a tremendous job in the world of sports, that is NEC Football Club in there, and that is something also really which has made many people happy about. And now he tasked the board to guide the corporation in fulfilling its purpose of supporting the Uganda People's Defense Forces through activities that contribute to Uganda's development as mandated by the constitution. Remember, NEC is as part of UPDF and also under UPDF India, and was established in the year 1989 also by the Act of Parliament, where also NEC now serves as commercial arm of the Ministry of Defense and Veteran Affairs, and UPDF also producing goods and services also that is to benefit the public through subsidiaries and joint ventures in there. And the General Retired Jora Mugume, the board chairman, praised the outgoing board for the dedication and efforts which significantly improved NEC's performance and led to the notable achievements in there. Lieutenant General James Mugira, the managing director of NEC, expressed optimism that the corporation also really will benefit greatly from the diverse expertise of the new board members in there. And now that is something also we did see, and the newly inaugurated board members include that is General retired Jora Mugume, who has been inaugurated as the chairman. We do have Charles Kwesiga, Lieutenant General Otema Wani, Lieutenant General Kayanza Muhanga, and Lieutenant General Charles Okidi, Lieutenant General James Mugira, and Major General, that is Jack Bakasumba, Major General David Mugisha, Mr. Francis Mukaihitira Ngabirano, Engineer Isaac Musasizi, and Dr. Anna Rose Ademuno Kurut, Dr. Joshua Mutambi, and Mr. Hannington Ashaba, who have also been appointed at board in there. And want to congratulate whoever was appointed in there, but we expect one thing: due diligence in service delivery, because at the end of the day, NEC is not going to be serving the Ministry of Defense. It's going to serve the Ugandans, and that's something also really I feel, if at all well empowered, if at all well guided, the board will also really attain the intended purpose and also the intended motive also really for the formation of the National Enterprise Corporation, which is abbreviated as NEC, which is now raising the flag of Ministry of Defense and the UPDF entirely very much high. And I believe that is already something, if at all, with the new board, whom we have trust in, also really, if at all, they do their work without any forms of corruption. Because we're talking about corruption, if at all they do their work without corruption tendencies, NEC will grow to higher ranks and also the higher rates in the just like the engineering brigade. NEC will attain its recognition. And today we are also talking about UPDF doing also its projects very, very well in there, and I believe this will actually do the same. And that is where we're leaving that discussion aside with. And now let's look at some of the stories happening elsewhere. Remember, this morning so many issues continue to happen. But I want to inform you that all this continue to happen in the country. But before we get to give you what happens internationally, so many issues continue to happen and also unfold on the papers this morning. And that's also where you who is planning to go to work and also who is still home and yet planning just to leave home for work. We are saying you need to hurry up, because usually it is the early bird that catches the fly. And you who is still watching us may be fearing that you're not going to be watching us at your workplace. We are saying you can watch us still from the workplace. All you need to do is have an internet connected and search for West Nile TV KOKOLIRIKO live show. You can watch us anytime, anywhere, and in any part of the world, so long as you have internet connected to that device. It could be a smartphone, it could be a computer, it could be any form of gadget, so long as it gets connected to the internet. And where you can be able to watch us, that is on YouTube. You can be able to watch us on Facebook. You can be able to watch us on TikTok. We are also there on X, formerly known as Twitter. This is the place for corporates in there who call themselves the corporates. And we are saying still you can be able to solely watch us from there, and at the end of the day still be locked to West Nile TV KOKOLIRIKO live show in there. And I want to thank whoever is watching us right now as we get to move on with the show. And that's solely where we are saying we are yet following up the discussions in the country, but according to information we are receiving, there's still some bit of calm across the entire country in relation to yesterday's planned protest. And in Masaka City, we are seeing calm. And in Sorot City, we are also seeing some youth also being protesting in there. But now, we have seen drones being flown in also the parts of Masaka City in there. That's to detect any form of criminal gatherings. And that is already something we did see the leaders from that area also criticizing. What does this mean? Definitely, that is something also already I feel we need to also let you know of. Because if you at all we are not also letting you know of that, then definitely at the end of the day, that will be quite well. And that will be quite unfortunate for the nation and for anybody out there. But that's something also already I feel I need to let you know of, and that is something also at the end of the day that will be quite well. I'm talking about corruption today in a rural city. Today we also going to be following up a meeting that is with the market vendors. And remember, the Minister for Local Government, Raphael Magezi, also demanded for fresh allocations of stalls following complaints by market vendors who had complained that the people are doing double charging of them, where we did also have the previous also landlords coming to disturb them at the facility. And now we are seeing the same case returning, and the vendors are actually raising concern. And after here, I will be running also to engage them. But I want to inform you that the former landlords, some are said to be also terrorizing and now disturbing these people, because the directive was clear, where the minister said whoever is in those houses will now start paying the monies directly to City Council via IRAS in there. But now we are seeing the landlords returning and asking for money from some of the tenants. But what does this mean? We are saying the issue of corruption must be also looked into with very much serious eyes, because corruption has dragged us behind as a nation, and that is corruption. And today we are going to be looking out and find out who exactly is behind also this move to come back and disturb, that is the vendors, and also disturb the tenants also in there who are doing their work, because we want to see these people doing their work. But how come that these people are also returning back to disturb them? Definitely that's something I must say is very, very much bad, and something we must condemn in there, because these people have the right to do work. They have the mandate to pay the money directly to the City Council via the IRA system in there. And that is something also really at the end of the day, which we are saying that shouldn't be the case, because if at all this continues to go on, many people are going to be losing money, many are going to be losing resources, and that wouldn't be good, because some people may decide to pull off from also really doing business in there, but that wouldn't be quite good. And that is something also really at the end of the day I feel may not be right. But at the end of the day, we have to the mandate to protect the people who are doing business, because they are generating a lot of monies for the country, and that is where they deserve to be protected. And that is where finally we'll be leaving that discussion aside, but we are going to be following up on that. It's still a developing matter, and today the leaders from Arua City are expected to actually meet with the vendors, and that is only in relation to the issue pertaining the return of what we call the former landlords who had been evicted from the facility. But how did they return in there? That's something also we need to understand and also need to find out, because much as we are talking about the market, still the vendors have returned back to the streets. The upper places have returned. Also, I don't know what happened to the executive order, which was already passed also in the city, and that's in relation to what we call a trade order, which also was implemented for a few days, where stores were pulled off the markets. But today we have seen the vendors with their stores already returning back on the streets, and the market facility remains unoccupied. Who is supposed to be doing that? And who is supposed to be also really making sure that this does not go on? And who has allowed the people to come back? Also, that's something also we need to understand. Could it be that the trade order was just implemented partly? That is where we expect the leaders to come and explain to us, because we saw evictions carried out in some of the streets also within a rural city, but now we are seeing the same areas where evictions were carried also really today, having and accommodating the same vendors. And at the end of the day, we are going to be talking to the vendors. They will be telling you that there are people who come and collect market dues from them. And who are those? And where do they take the monies? Is something also really we need to understand, because we don't talk about corruption. That is also really corruption, and also really implementing some of these orders also really partly like that is really, really wrong. And that is where we now want to see the trade order fully observed and fully respected. And when the trade order is not respected, definitely what happens up there will continue to happen. And remember, the market has been on the spotlight, where recently we did see some people, a couple who moved out, and that's only had fun from up there. We're not saying that we should not also disrupt sustenance, but we need to occupy the upper places. These vendors who are down, really my humble appeal to them is also restructuring, and that's where we are saying the city authorities need to restructure the market. Essential goods need to go up, because whether we like it or not, people will continue to go and buy food from up. If I told you we move the food vendors up, that would also really make sure that people move up in there, because other than leaving the textile owners up there, because I believe textile can be purchased from anywhere and people do not buy clothes every day. I can take 3 months without buying at least a shirt, but it's okay with me. What about somebody who stays for 2 years without buying clothes? But but every day at least I have to buy food. I have to eat, because food is a necessity, and I believe restructuring the market is the way to go. And I believe that is the only way that can be able to address the issue of street vending in a rural city, because street vending remains a key challenge not only to a rural city, but for several markets also really across the entire country in there. But who can be able to change the narrative, and how can we deal with that narrative with the implementation of the trade order? Because we are able to also see evictions not less than even 6 months. It is less than 6 months that we are seeing also really the operations going on, but now they have returned back to the streets. And what does this mean? It means that the authorities only implemented this order for one day, and they have gone back to the offices, and they are now comfortable sitting in the offices. But we are saying that is not also really where you should be warming those chairs. Come back on the streets and carry out your work, because we need a clean city. We need also sanity within the city and within the business community in there, and that would also really be of great importance. And I feel that is actually the way to go. And how can we be able to sort of address such matters is actually very, very much important, and the issues related to that is actually very, very much important, because these issues continue to also remain in the public domain in there. But how do we also deal with such matters is what matters next. And how do we also really handle the issues of street vending? Much as we are saying the youths, who are mostly the ones engaged in the street vending, also need to survive. Yes, because if at all we are not also going to support them, and if at all we are not also going to move them and also restructure the market, still they are going to complain that there's no business. And if there's no business, they will find it very hard to take care of their families, because there are those street vendors who are paying school fees for their children, for their brothers and sisters, for their relatives, and they need the money. And where are they going to get the money? It is through business. And street vending is actually where they are doing their business. And that is also something that has been termed to be legal. But how do you make sure when you are carrying out the implementations, the implementation need only to remain on paper, or maybe carried once, and people go back and sit in the offices? And that is where we're saying that shouldn't be the case. We need to go back to the drawing boards and restructure the market, and also allow the street vendors move into the facilities, and those who are dealing in textile be put down. What about those in foodstuffs? To me, they need to be taken up, because each and every time people need to eat. Whether we like it or not, food is a necessity and something we can hardly run away from, and that would also really address the issue of street vending and taking advantage of the facility. Really, to my dismay, if you move up there, you will really see the pain of what I'm trying to explain. The facility remains unoccupied, yet down people are fully crowded, but up, nothing. You really see nothing. The facilities are empty, the stores are empty, and people have turned those facilities and some of the areas into urinal shelters, where you find bottles of urine, where you find human waste, where you find a lot of activities. And recently, the facility also really became on the spotlight, where we did see two couples who moved up and also really had fun up there, but that was something which we criticized, and the cameras of the facility, we were able to also really pick them, and people got to know who they are, and these are actually vendors. And that is only on a sad note, which we did see happening in there, but we must condemn such activities in the highest terms. That is immorality also really in the highest terms, which must not go on. But how do we avoid such immoralities from going on, and such kisirani also from proceeding also in there is quite simple. First of all, to avoid that kisirani, we need to make sure that the facilities are occupied. Other than putting the people dealing in textile, in clothes up, we need to make sure they are moved down. And then people of food who are down, the tomato sellers, the fish sellers, be moved up. And that would also make sure that people climb up there, because whether they like it or not, the people deserve to be eating food in there. And that is where we're leaving that discussion within Arua City aside. And now let's look at what's happening internationally. So many stories continue to unfold in the international stories, and where today we shall be summarizing with the world of sports. And today, if in case you're just joining us right now, this is the Wednesday edition of the KOKOLIRIKO live show. And today happens to be the 24th of the month of July, and it's with great pleasure and also with profound honor that we welcome you aboard. And that's only where now you are finding us all summarizing with international stories, and now talking about some of the stories happening in the international world. We did see also the Tanzania minister sacked over poll rigging remarks, and that's something also we did see happening. And that is information coming from the BBC, where Tanzania's information minister, Nep Nnauye, has been also really removed from his post, also following an outcry over comments he made suggesting the elections could be rigged. And that's one thing we did see happening in there, where Mr. Nnauye was filmed also at a rally on July 15th, saying that he would help also fellow ruling MP win the 2025 general elections. And that is also the democracy that we are seeing in Tanzania, where such remarks also really can be pulled off. Yet in other places, others already are supporting also those behind also the corruption, saying that if they share the money with you, there's no problem. And that is also really how our country is. And we did see the president, that is Samia Suluhu, recently carrying out reshuffles, and also really where we did see also really happening in that. The election results are not necessarily those in the box, meaning corruption has been also really going on, where vote rigging has also really been going, and that's already a comment that also really got him sacked for. And I believe that is already something at the end of the day that is quite important. And also following a public outcry and backlash, After a video also of his controversial remarks that went viral, Mr. Nnauye said he made the remarks in jest. He was just joking, and then jokingly he has already lost his job in there. And that is something also really how serious it is with Tanzanian President Samia Suluhu Hassan, who sacked him from cabinet on Sunday as part of the wider reshuffle. She did not also clearly give the reason, but many people also really believe it is actually as a result of the information in relation to vote rigging that he made. And that is something also we did see happening, where the video also filmed Mr. Nnauye's visit to the northern city of Bukoba also showed the former minister saying, because I am good at election tricks, I will assist to emerge victorious in there. And he also said that there are victorious measures also to ensure win also the election of elections. That's something also we did see in there. Many of the Tanzanians criticized the former minister, arguing that also he had violated the principles of electoral democracy and did not also respect the decision of the voters in there and the rule of law as well. But how do we make sure also that that does go on? And in his apology, Mr. Nnauye said he believed the elections are free and fair. In that, Mr. Nnauye also came under fire, also that's using during the 2015 elections, using a football also analogies, where he said the ruling CCM will win the poll by all means, even if this is also scoring a handball goal, they will do so in there. And that is something also really, which we also did see happening in there. But that could also really mean true, because if at all the remarks came from him, if at all he has a background of such activities, then definitely such people also must not be contained in the government. And he was first appointed information minister by the late president, that is John Magufuli, before being removed in reshuffle. And President Samia reappointed Nnauye in January 2022, and he will now be replaced also by former Land and Housing Development Minister, that is Jerry Sire in there. And that's something we did see happening, where Jerry Sire will now be replacing this man in that. Foreign Minister January Makamba also has been sacked also with Tanzania's ambassador, that is to Italy, Mahmoud Thabito Kombo, as the chosen one also to succeed. That is also another minister that we're talking about in there. But how do we make sure that such issues of corruption do not happen in the entire African continent? Because when you talk about African continent, we have been very, very much associated and also really caught up by the issue of corruption, and that's only one thing also the outside world knows us for. But how do we make sure we also now make sure that we are not also that part of the world which is not for corruption? Because if at all we are not for corruption, and how it is going to be implying, and what implications that this have on the economy and the development of African continent, which is already part of the third world country, because we are the third world also in there, where also we need to also make sure at least we move into the middle, maybe second world. But really, how do we make sure we do that with the corruption already that continue to happen in the country in there? We are leaving that aside. Nigeria's president wants youth not to join sinister protests. Is another story that we are seeing on the papers this morning, where Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu has urged the young people not to join nationwide cost of living protests, planned also for next week, saying that they are work also for sinister people also capitalizing on the country's economic also woes in there. And organizers say to be drawn for inspiration from what happens in Kenya. Could it be that also now the cancer in Kenya is spreading like bushfire, because we have seen it coming to Uganda? Now Nigerians also want to copy the same. What does it mean to the democracy of the African continent? I believe this also has a remark, also has a wound that it will be touching somewhere. And now protesters in the East African nation are now calling on President William Ruto to resign after winning also key demands, including scrapping of the plant tax arises and also dismissal of also the entire cabinet, which did go on. But still, the Kenyans are demanding for the president to step down. And Nigeria last mass motion was 3 years ago. Again, it's also the levied police also unit are also accused of extrajudicial killings in there, and now the same also really wants to return in Nigeria. But how do we make sure that such issues do not go on? And the movement also already achieved its aim of disbanding the force, was already being met with a violent crackdown in which dozens also protesters were killed. And as the motion planned for August 1st in Nigeria, also really some men and women with sinister motives have been reported to have been mobilizing citizens, particularly the young people, to also really stage a protest. And that's only according to information we are receiving from the agencies also in Nigeria, where the speech also was delivered on the president's behalf to a gathering of traditional leaders only on Monday by the secretary also to the government, that is George Akume, and now referring to India, which has also been hit by religious clashes, and the Sudan also, which has been destroyed by civil war. It means that also we must embrace and cherish the peace that we are also having in the entire continent. And if at all people have grievances, then they must also use the right channels also to address those grievances in there. Now, to finalize the entire discussions with what is happening in the world of sports, Crystal Palace have offered that's 14 million also US dollars also plus 1 million add-ons for Olympic Marseille also a player that's in the names of Ismail Assar, who was also formerly with Watford in there now, and that's also this money also include that's a sell-on clause that's on future sale in there now. The people are now interested in this player who also plays for Senegal in there. And now talking about teams also which are interested in signing also we have PSG, who are also interested in signing Manchester United player that's in the names of Jadon Sancho, who has already been on loan that's to Borussia Dortmund where he came from, and we also did see him also as one of the prolific players who was also did feature for the German side in there. Now France side, Paris Saint-Germain are also now interested in signing this player that was already we are also already talking about in there, and that is already where more details of that will be coming through on the Whistle Time with Owen Ezaga together with Linda Suzy in there. And with that, we come to the end of today's discussions. And up next is the news bulletin in Lubarati. That's with Fete Emmanuel. And I want to thank whoever watched us right from the time we began until this hour of the morning. I want to say have yourselves a good morning and a good day as well. And we shall be bouncing back tomorrow with the same program. But for now, we stop here and have yourselves a good day.